Okay, folks. So, my last video took like a day or so to upload. So I'm actually a couple of days off in terms of timing for this streak. These things, they kind of vary in length depending upon I guess how well I'm able to handle sort of the whatever it is that life throws at me, if there's anything being thrown at me, so to speak. But right now it's day 2. Not a big, milestone or anything. I've gone longer without the PMO, than this time. But we'll have to see how that all turns out. And I want these to cover my ears when I'm wearing them. But anyways, obviously got this kind of like this new look. If you know anybody who's a famous beanie wearer, you probably know where I got at least part of my inspiration from. Alex has been giving me a hard time about this. I swear, if one day I'm ever super famous, I'll probably have some meme about me. And he kind of came up with a bit of an idea for that, but I'm no big time, influencer or YouTuber at this point. I just got I got a small community of followers, subscribers, that sort of thing. So right now it's sort of an inside joke, but it's kind of funny when he was mentioning me on LinkedIn and was putting that in the comments. But yeah, so gone through a couple days. I just finished another Udemy course for robotic process automation. Basically, this guy, he's done a series on a number of different tools and the methodologies and all that for RPA. I've done the overview course. Now this is the tech primer course, and then I think next up is actually getting into more heavy usage of certain RPA tools, that sort of deal. I'm not sure which course I'm going to go take after this, because I want to sort of hop around a bit and make sure that I'm not getting too pigeonholed into one thing or another. Because I have a total of 30 courses that I've bought on there, and 2 to 3 of them are just they're not the courses that I would take to get official certification. They're sort of courses that allow you to really learn, let's say, a certain tool or a certain programming language or so, and the idea is to prepare yourself enough that when you can go take the official certification, you can pass it. So for instance, I have a couple of courses for SolidWorks, for the certified SolidWorks Associate and then certified SolidWorks Professional levels. I haven't gotten the expert one yet. I'm going to just focus on getting through the Associate and then Professional levels, and working on getting the actual certifications once I complete these courses. Some of them, they're for software packages or tools like SolidWorks or, let's say, Microsoft Access, where if you want the full version, you got to pay for it, or and you get a free version, but you get a month-long trial. So it's kind of even with SolidWorks, you pay for a year. I think it's a year or 2 year long license, but and I'm not at this point. I'm not able to really go through sort of a school account, so I can't quote unquote get it for free. In terms of you pay for a course and then you get additional software that you don't have to pay an additional cost for. But even then, it's sort of I would have to be able to say to myself, okay, I'm going to be able to sit down for a month or 2 or 3 and just focus in on this one tool, because something like SolidWorks, there's a lot to learn as far as I'm concerned. I've messed around with some of this sort of stuff. I know we had to use that for an intro to engineering course for some stuff, and I did sort of play around with it a bit and complete some exercises, but that was I think that was 2 or 3 years ago, and I really haven't touched it since then. And the other tool that I've used for that sort of stuff was Creo 2.0, and I think they're up to 3.0 or 4.0 parametric. And I haven't touched that stuff for years, but I'm planning obviously going back, relearning it, getting certified, getting that on my portfolio, that sort of a deal, or my resume. But I would really have to sit down, like dedicate some serious time to some of these things. Like Microsoft Access, I can get the free version with like I think it's a month or two, like, you know, free license time, whatever. But it'd be one of those things where I'd have to, like, if it was going to take me that long, you know, it was going to take like more than a couple weeks, I would have to really be able to dedicate myself to it and be able to like knock it out in that time before the license expires, so that I could be using the software along with the course. So I may have to put some of this off, you know, until I've knocked out all these other courses. You know, to the point where if I have 2 or 3 classes, you know, or courses left on there, and I can just be like, okay, I'm going to focus in on these now. And then there's other ones out there that I have that sort of like reinforcing, let's say, knowledge of Python or Java or, you know, whatever, or you know, learning some new programming language like R. You know, I'll have to figure out which ones I'm going to go ahead with. And then there are other courses where it's like specific applications of, let's say it's like software testing, or it's like version control, or version. I don't want you to get any ideas as to my mispronunciation of some words. Version, version. People these days, the culture these days, language these days. You gotta, like, you know, or like my physics professor, one of them went in college to say, some people's kids. It's like I gotta watch how I pronounce words, but like, anyways, getting back on topic, there's stuff there for like learning how to do version control, working with Git, Jenkins, Ansible, Docker, and there's like software testing courses I have, unit testing, that sort of thing. And it's like they will be like, you know, okay, we're going to use Python for this course, or we're going to use Java or so. And it's like, okay, so I want to probably reinforce my knowledge of that before I dive into those. But yeah, like I said, I'll have to figure out which ones I'm going to go with. Unfortunately, you know, it's like the irony of, yet again, figuring out what an engineer actually does. You know, you go through, you get your chemical engineering or biomedical engineering, or, you know, whatever engineering degree, and you get out there into industry, and it's like, man, I wish they'd actually had like a, you know, a course on version control software, or, you know, software testing or something like that. I mean, I'm sure probably if you were a computer science or computer engineering, you know, major, you know, student or so, you probably, or software engineering, definitely, you probably got exposed to this sort of stuff. But like the irony is, you know, it's like getting a chemical engineering degree or a bioengineering degree because you want to get into like biotech, let's say, and then finding out that, well, you know, if you'd only minored in comp sci or software engineering or so, while you were an undergrad, you'd probably have some exposure to this, and you could probably do the actual engineering job, you know. Like, there's a lot of DevOps work. A lot of it's really just the stuff that goes on behind the scenes. Like me, I've worked as a technician, you know, manufacturing associate in these biotech companies, and especially the one that I'm going back to. I mean, there's all this stuff that like you don't really realize. Like, you know, if they have a manufacturing execution system, or they have some sort of database system, or the software interacts with the database, or, you know, you've got to like scan this in, scan that in, blah blah blah, you know, and use this to track, you know, sample tracking and whatnot. It's like that stuff is where the engineers come in, where they work with that sort of stuff. And, you know, and you sort of discover, okay, here are the tools they actually use. I mean, there's the software that goes with, let's say, the robots themselves, and there's all this other stuff that's even further behind that, you know, the back end, so to speak. And it's like, wow, you know, see this like long laundry list of things I need to learn. But I'm working my way through it, you know, knocking things down as I go along. But that's really been my focus. Try not to be focused in on that, you know, to the exclusion of other things. But it's kind of like what I'm doing right now to sort of at least get the sense that I'm moving forward and that momentum forward in my life, and I'm, you know, taking care of business. But other than that, you know, I think I actually have I actually have some stuff I could talk about as far as like debt is concerned, because I've made some more payments onto my debts, and I'm looking forward to starting next week at the job. Like I said in the past, I have a bit of like training stuff to get done beforehand, but needless to say, like I'm at a point where I was feeling confident enough that I could make some significant payments, and I have made those down to some of those debts, but could probably make a video going into the specifics of that. But what else? I don't know. Not much has happened per se, but there was some interesting stuff that went down with some of the YouTubers I follow, and red pill folks and such, because there's sort of a convergence, if you will. People talk about like the red pill going mainstream, or a lot of these other sorts, Nofap or whatever going mainstream. And one of the YouTubers I follow, he's a journalist. He's actually my age. He's like a few months older than me, and I actually grew up in, he was born in the area that I grew up in. So I was born, not that far away, but same region. But then, I moved to kind of like the suburbs of the city that he grew up in. He's been doing his whole, journalist and news junkie, thing for quite a while. And he's, built himself up to the point where he has a show and all that. But he ended up having a couple guests on who were like, they're connected to, to the red pill, Rollo Tomasi, all that. And hopefully I'll have him back on again. And, maybe in the future, if sort of that connection is built or so, and he's able to bring in more people, from like sort of the red pill manosphere sort of community, just like he's brought on folks from other communities and such to have, discussions and sort of provide a platform, if you will, to to different perspectives on issues and whatnot. Maybe, who knows, maybe he'll have Rollo on eventually. Maybe he'll have some other folks on. I have a sort of list in my head of folks that, if I was, or, guys, from the manosphere, if like I was asked, I'd be like, okay, here's my list of guest suggestions. And I mean, definitely Rollo's, at or near the top of the list. I might change a bit here and there, because sometimes I sort of might rethink my suggestions or so, just, because hear about new voices, hear about new people, get different perspectives on things, and you go, maybe I should add that person to the list. And then if I ever have the money to throw in for a super chat or so, that I, suggest this person or that person. But I was like, Rollo had like a watch party, so to speak, of the live stream of this show with the guests on there, and it was just like they obviously had their sort of reactions and such, and attitudes, sort of things and whatnot. But all that aside, if you want to get caught up in trying to find drama with it, okay, fine. But I just thought it was really interesting to see this sort of convergence, because it's almost like if you ever that's kind of weird. I'm getting a cough right now after about 14 minutes of talking. But anyways, it's just kind of interesting to see like that sort of stuff converging. You follow this journalist for a while. Like I started following his content after one of my friends shared a link to one of his videos I was on Facebook back when I had a Facebook account, and it's like they both had the same first name. It's kind of like, oh, this guy listened to this guy with the same first name, and recommending his videos. But I started following him, and then obviously I followed Rollo Tomasi, read the first 3 out of the 4 books he's written, been to his blog, all that sort of stuff, and then the other sort of personalities that he's connected with. But when you see these sorts of things crossing over these three different worlds, it's like if I don't know, they had some sort of Nofap guy on or something like that, or they had, and hopefully they wouldn't pick one of the quote unquote extremists of Nofap who, the folks who they mean well, but they end up giving the community a really, bad name, or they open us up to criticism or so because they just take things way too far, like talking about Nofap superpowers, or, that Nofap is the answer to all your problems, or whatever the case may be. Those moments, those events are interesting, and it's sort of the stuff that I like to see, where it's sort of, you have this crossover and collaboration, cross-pollination of ideas, and perspectives and ways of thinking, and they get to discuss the kind of stuff that you're not going to see on sort of the big box name brand media outlets. And obviously there's different reasons for why that won't be the case, but cue the conspiracy theories. But I think it's probably the most interesting thing that's happened lately, and that was just like yesterday. I watched both of them, both the actual live stream, and then I watched the sort of commentary watch party thing. And while there were sort of moments where I was just like, okay, I get it, like, oh, this guy's finally getting around to talking about this, blah blah blah. But for the most part, I thought it was really entertaining and interesting and intellectually stimulating, so to speak. So anyways, my mom was just calling, so I'm actually gonna call her back, and hopefully it's nothing like an emergency or whatever. But what else? I really can't think of anything else. Yeah. I guess I could have talked about health concerns, but I kind of covered that in the last video. I mean, it's the usual stuff. But what else? I really can't think of anything right now. Who knows? Something will pop into my head later, and I'll make another video. But anyways, without going on any further, I'll finish up now and upload this. So thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you around. Take it easy. Bye bye.